Welcome, everyone. Oh, we still have 30 seconds. That's okay. So we can welcome you, and then in 30 seconds, we'll actually start presenting.
Okay.
Where this is tonight is going to be a little different than we've been having lately, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So tonight is a true open forum workshop. We don't have a presenter, so we are 100% open to your questions, your thoughts, your suggestions. But rather than leave it sort of open, we do have some questions for you to spark some conversation. But before we really get going, I want to just take a moment and give a big thank you and have a big clapping session for one of our volunteers, Dan Perlman. This is his last month with us, volunteering with us in the education committee. He's been with us since the beginning and has just been fantastic. He's easy to work with. He's generous. He's smart. He's fun. He's been a wonderful volunteer. We have just loved working with him. And we understand why he wants to leave us, but we're sad. So I just wanted to just please join me in clapping for Dan and thanking him. And Dan, we really appreciate you.
He's also my mentor and my introduction to the online chapter. Thank you, Dan.
Well, I thank you both, Chris and Sharon, very much. Yeah, I'm very dedicated to better investing. I also, even though I'm past retirement age, I still have a pretty active day job. And I got to the point where right now there's a lot of things that are on my agenda for the next few months. So I had to make more time for that. But I hope at some point down the road again, I will be involved in activities like this because I really believe in the philosophy of better investing and I believe in its educational mission. I think that really its philosophy of investing and helping people to learn that philosophy, as well as having clubs, are really the defining characteristics of what is a very, very successful program for investing for individuals. So with that, thank you, Chris and Sharon.
And thank you, Dan. So welcome everyone to our Better Investing Mentoring Workshop. We call these an open forum because we're open to all your questions and thoughts and concerns, anything that might be either that you want to ask us about your investment journey, or if you have a lot of experience, or even if you have a little experience in any particular area, we welcome you to respond to questions that other people have. There are no rules. You can ask about anything that has anything to do with investing. And we just ask that you allow other people to speak, that we can have a nice, happy, open dialogue together. Just want to give you our standard disclaimer, which you've seen probably at any other investing workshop that you've gone to at Better Investing, but it may happen that we discuss specific stocks, and that's not meant to be any type of recommendation for you to run out and buy those stocks. If you hear something that sounds interesting, by all means, go into SSG, go to Value Line, go someplace and do some research on that stock, but don't just please run out and buy it just because you heard somebody talking about it here. I used to do that before I joined Better Investing, and I lost a lot of money doing that. So I do not recommend it. Also, I need to let you know that this is being recorded and it's being live streamed on Facebook. So if you're trying, if you're in witness protection, if you're on the lam, if you're a fugitive from justice, please keep your camera off and change your name. But otherwise, we'd love to see your face. We'd love to have you remove your microphone and be part of the conversation. So right now, I'm going to pop back here and just reintroduce you to the members of the online chapter's education committee. This is a volunteer group, part of Better Investing at large, and the online chapter is one chapter within Better Investing. Our education committee volunteers are Shriram Matabushi, Dan Perlman, Phil Suter, and myself, Chris McCarran. So right now, I'm going to turn it over to Shriram to start us off with some topics for discussion tonight. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to either raise your virtual hand or your real hand or just take yourself off mute and shout out your questions.
Yes. Thank you, Chris. And thanks again, all of you joining the session tonight. Like Chris said, feel free to open your camera and let us see, and open your microphone and let us hear. Actually, I certainly want to ask a couple of options. We can go around and answer each of these questions that we are going to pose and discuss tonight. Or alternatively, I can go ask for volunteers to engage us on each of these questions. So please feel free to unmute and open your cameras so that we can see you and be part of the discussion. Thank you, Atul. You're already doing that. Bob, good to see you. So,
Hello.
question number one, what stock did you buy most recently?
Actually, another way that you can engage if you don't want to talk, or if you're in a place where you can't, you can also put things into the chat and we can read them for you.
That's very true, yes. Anybody want to volunteer?
Well,
Either
I'll start.
personal? Yeah, please go ahead, Bob.
If you want. I'm just finishing up a stock study that I plan on buying it, but I've got a presentation beginning of the month with the Space Coast Model Investment Club, and that stock is ResMed. The ticker is RMD, and it's a company if you suffer breathing issues and everything, you see all these ads for COPD and everything. They're the worldwide manufacturers of that. In fact, they are the leader of production of it and marketing throughout the world, over 140 companies. It's a small size, it's a medium-sized company, but the smaller end of that, and it's got really, really high quality indicators with some concern about the level of debt they've got, but it's not excessive. And there's a whole bunch more. So let me shamelessly put in a plug. If you have time on the first Monday of October, just go to the North Florida chapter's website and you find a link to join us. We'll have fun there. So that's
Excellent.
one.
Thank you. Thank
This
you.
is a stock that I've sort of had an eye on off and on for a long time, and I think it's been a long time stock that's kind of in the BI vein of investing. Refresh me a little bit. Am I right that it makes these? Does it make the sleep machines for when you snore too much and that sort of stuff? Yeah, and
That's it. It helps you breathe, sleep apnea,
Yeah.
COPD,
yes,
and a few other things like that.
and is it sensitive to government funding of that kind of equipment?
It's sensitive in the sense, well, the United States and some of other European countries where it's subsidized. For example, Medicare or Medicaid,
Will do.
something like that. And it's part of the concern right now is with the current administration, where they're trying to reduce medical costs and for the first time negotiating with companies on they're starting off with the prescription, negotiating for prices on that. But then I think in phase 3 or 4 of the rollout of negotiating with the companies is on medical supplies and equipment, which is the industry ResMed is in.
So has that looming on the horizon depressed their price a little?
Say that again?
Has there been price fluctuation in the stock, sort of taking those possibilities into account?
Yeah, recently, just it was August 3rd, they put out guidance indicating that they were going to have something. They lowered their near-term
Yes.
projections for revenue and earnings, and that caused the price to drop. In the latest value line, the price was around $247, if I recall correctly, and value line was calling it a buy at that price. It's down to about 145 right now because of this, my belief is that the market is mispricing. They're overreacting to that news, which is what we're looking for. At the 245 price, it was a triple play. Nicholson's triple play, even at that. And I found it when I went on the Manifest Investing. I was looking for in Manifest Investing. It's got very high power and quality scores, and you press the button for is it a triple play, and it came back, and at that 245, it was a triple play. So it's a triple play with a home run, I guess, at current price.
Excellent.
If you like the quality.
Yeah. Hey, Bob and Dan, I think we have one more. I think Gerald put SMCI. Anyone else following SMCI? Gerald, if you can, feel free to chime in.
They'll be learning how to use control fire to prevent. I'm kind of a little apprehensive about buying it where it's at, and it took a massive hit.
Okay.
And some people are thinking that it might drop down to 200.
Okay.
So that's all. I just a couple of guys were talking about it, and well, that's all I really have to say. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else?
What are we talking about?
Atul, Christian, you all, any of you have any suggestions, recommendations? Kevin, Margot?
Yes, me. I just this is Yuval, and I'm shopping here, but listening to you. And I bought 2 stocks recently. InMode, INMD. It's medical devices. And they went down some, maybe 10-15%. Yeah, everything for my memory. And they have really good parameters. And they have good PE. I mean, from what I've seen, the price is reasonable to the PE. They have a very good growth rate, and they were good price. So I sold for that CRL, which is also in the health sector, and I bought that one instead.
Excellent. Excellent.
I bought also another one. Let me see which one was it. Oh, PayPal. I bought that one and PayPal.
PayPal, okay. Very good.
Yes.
Excellent. I know Christian is also mentioned PGTI. Christian, do you want to talk about that, or? That's okay. That's okay. I see you all, Atul, and Christian. They join our Yankee Model Club on Saturdays. I recognize your names from the visitors list. Yes. Margot, I think Bob was talking about a company called RMD. I just put it in the chat. So please, that's what he was talking about. Excellent. Hey, Chris, do you want to go to the next question? Yes, I think you already talking about that. So what did you sell recently?
Excuse me? You asked me?
Yes. What did you sell? I know you mentioned something you
Ah,
recently sold.
they do research. They do they have labs. They have labs. They do medicine research. I think also for animals. So I sold them, but actually I was looking for something with dividends also because the
Very good idea.
market ups and downs. So I was looking for something with growth and dividends, but I couldn't find anything.
Okay. Christian also posted anything TROW. Probably that's what he sold, I would imagine. I'm not following either PGTI or TROW, so I don't know anything about those two companies. Anybody know anything about those companies?
I own Tro. I own
Okay.
Tro.
Okay.
And it's a finance company.
Okay.
They do annuities. They have they do I forgot the name, but it's like a funds. It's like
It's T. Rowe Price, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay. Zero price. Okay.
It's,
Okay.
yes,
Very nice.
they
Very
have
nice.
different funds.
Very nice. Anybody else sold anything and why?
Yeah, it was Bob. I recently sold a Federal Signal, FSS, and it's been a holding that I've had for about 2 years, and went up. I was just looking at it a few days ago, and it went up about 74% during the period that I owned it, about almost 2 years. And so I updated
Nice.
the SSG, and uh, based on my judgments, I didn't see where it had much upside potential and over the period that I was looking at, and I had some other companies that I wanted to replace that with. So that's what I did. The upside potential was around 55, 56% based on my judgments. So
Excellent. No, I think that exactly shows the value of what we do. By doing an SST, we are able to,
mhm,
make a
always.
decision, yes, on how we
Yeah,
can,
yeah. Now
how we can,
let me get on my soapbox. And I
yes,
see it so often because I do a lot of club visits and everything. And when they sell a company, even if it's a gain, you're happy with it. They say, okay, that's it, and it goes. It doesn't even go on the shelf. They net uh, almost always they never put it on a watch list again. Like with FSS, I was happy with it. I made money on it. I
yep,
didn't see where over the period of time that's coming up that I would get the return that I was looking for. But that's on my watch list. And if it gets mispriced and everything, I know a lot about it. I mean, and the clubs, once you do the studies and all that, you know more and more about the company. You don't want to discard them.
yep. No, that's a very good point. That's a very good
Yeah,
point. Next question that we have here is Johnson and Johnson exchange offer. How many of you are familiar, and what do you think about it?
I
Anybody?
know that.
Let's get somebody who does know about it
Yep.
to talk
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
about what it is. And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
looking for Phil, but I don't see him.
Yeah. Phil, he joined and he dropped off for some reason, but that's fine. I mean, anybody else have any opinion, anything about this at all? I don't know anything about, I think, Chris, you may have understood what Phil was saying.
Yeah, it seems that Johnson and Johnson spun off a company and they were offering people a very favorable rate if they wanted to. I think it was about a 15% discount if they wanted to exchange some of their Johnson and Johnson shares for shares in the new company. But if nobody knows about it, we might as well just go on to the next one.
Sounds good, unless somebody wants to jump in and talk about it.
I guess one question here is, do we have people who have an opinion about the potential for Johnson & Johnson in the near future? It's certainly been a terrific stock to hold over a long period of time, but it is a large cap company, which probably is not going to have the kind of growth that some other companies would have, but it has had a very strong track record. If you've held it for years, you have a smile. But is it time at this point to say, maybe the spin-off might have more potential?
Very good. So if you don't have any opinion, we'll skip that one. I think we have a few more things to cover. So we certainly want to move forward a little more. So what do you all think about the labor strikes that are going with the UAW? And the second thing is, how do you think it's going to affect the overall stock markets? Anybody has any opinion about it?
I'm +1 to this question, actually. Well, I hear that a lot, that strike is not good for company, but I'm not sure. I know Tesla, they have like a contract with every employee that they cannot form a union.
Union. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I know. So
Yeah.
that's advantage. That's something
Yeah.
good. So,
Yeah, but I think also the reality is the companies are doing well. So the markets may be impacted. I don't know. I think from what I heard and what I read about the strikes, the UAW, they are holding their cards tight. They are pacing how they're going to strike. Right now, apparently they're doing only in 3 locations, but they're doing with all the 3 major companies. So because of that, I think there is a lot of uncertainty in it, but still almost a week into this, looks like they're still not having any direct impacts on the stock prices. My standard answer to this question, we as better investors, we're always bullish with the companies that we think we have value to purchase and invest in them, right? So it depends on how the whole approach is. But anybody else who has an opinion about bullish or bearish? Oh,
Christian said that
yeah,
he's been
bearish.
bearish.
Yeah. Christian, do you want to say why you are bearish? Inflation, okay. That's a good point. Kevin, Margot, Atul, you've been very quiet. Anything you want to share? What about you, Bob? I thought you wanted to say something.
Oh, sure. I am very much bullish. I think
Yeah.
the market's going to just continue. I mean, we've been watching. People have been saying for at least a couple of years, it's going into a bear market. We're going to have a recession and all that. And it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I didn't think it would happen. I thought the Federal Reserve was doing a pretty good job. They probably should have raised rates earlier, but it looks like things are pretty much under control. And
Yeah. Yes.
usual thing, never bet against the United States, that even if it drops, and as an investor, and I've got a bunch of cash set aside right now that I'm waiting for a little dip,
Yeah.
and be able to come in and buy something that I really like, but at a price that I really, really want. So
Very true. Very true. Anyone else? I think one of the things I heard in a recent interview by Mr. Powell saying that they were very successful in making it more of a soft landing than they expected for the whole markets because of the inflation and other concerns. I think, yep. Very good. I think the next one is, I know 4 of us we are volunteers and we are directors for the BI. Anyone else is part of the BI chapter structure or volunteer or a director? Why not? Here is a great opportunity for sharing what you know. And I think I learned more about trying to share than trying to learn. Anyone else? Cats are very quiet today.
Yeah.
Hey, Phil.
Hi,
Welcome.
I was going to say my 2 cents on that question would be that when I first started and I became a local chapter volunteering director, it was kind of one of the things that I didn't feel like I knew a whole lot, but so I met and met a bunch of people, and we all kind of learned together. And the old message of, if you want to learn something, teach it, because it's you definitely learn. And even teaching it, I learned things about the software and other strategies that I hadn't known. So it's a benefit for everybody, I think.
I would
Absolutely.
echo what Phil says too. When I first was asked to be a volunteer, I thought, but I'm just starting. I don't know anything. But I can say I never would have learned as much as I have if I hadn't been a volunteer. And even like doing a club visit, when I thought to myself, everybody in that club is going to know more than I do. But Howard Johnson came with me and I got to hear what he said. I mean, he's come with me on every club visit I've done, which probably doesn't help him very much, but it helps me a lot. And I've learned so much. So if you're thinking, oh gosh, I don't really know enough about better investing to be a volunteer, you might find that you want to do it for sort of selfish reasons because you're going to learn so much and so much faster than you might just being in a club or just just being listening to other volunteers like us talking.
Yep, you never know who you might meet, because I wouldn't have met Chris, Dan, or Sram if it hadn't been for the education committee. So I'd most definitely encourage anybody that's interested.
Yeah, I know some of you have much more than we have to share. So feel free to be part of something that is much more interesting and fruitful. So again, if you are interested in the about 2 questions, the third question obviously, as Dan is trying to take some time off, we have wonderful opportunity to get one of you to join us. I think we certainly need the 4th person to help us. So feel free to consider, think about it, and ask us questions. We meet a couple of hours a month, not more than that. We met earlier this week to prepare for this meeting and this meeting. So most of that is very limited limited opportunity, but it certainly will help us.
Hey, can I go back to being a volunteer for a minute?
Yes, sir.
And everything, and we talked about when you're a volunteer, you end up learning a lot about investing. It's almost like a graduate course and all that. Uh, Being a volunteer, when you come in, we do have a very structured volunteer training program that you go through that you end up learning a whole bunch of things about better investing and about organizations and things like that. But and some of the chapters I've gone through, you actually have some. When I say young people, I'm 80, so there's a lot of people that are a lot younger. But we've got professionals, like Chris and Phil, that are and Sharam, that are still working. Being a volunteer, first of all, looks great on your resume. That you're involved. You're involved in extracurricular activities and all that. And you learn a lot about management. You learn a lot about leadership. You learn a lot about how to do project planning, and you learn a bunch of software tools and things like that. It ends up helping you in if you're still working. It helps you in, I think, advancing. I wish I had this exposure when I was in the military. When I was in the military, we didn't have all this technology to take advantage of things.
Yeah.
But
One thing I want to point
yeah,
out, Bob, one of the things we do is, as part of the online chapter, as well as being directors, we also spend time setting goals and we achieve those goals. So again,
yeah.
another opportunity for us to look into how to set goals and achieve them. So that certainly helped us. Yeah. One last question I'm going to ask. So where we are in 2023 September, we looked at some of the cycles when during the first year, second year, third year, fourth year of a presidential cycle. How do you think it impacts where we are and how it's going to impact the stock markets? Do you have any opinion about that?
Well, I think the conventional wisdom historically, the last year of the president's term, you figure that the stock market is going to do well because it's always been he, is not going to screw things up the last year, and things will be going. This time around, it's really scary. So we've got it's scary, and we don't want to get into political issues at all, but it's scary.
Yeah, we don't want to get into political, but again, I think we were hesitant to put this question up for discussion. But having said that, I think, again, don't look at from the political spectrum, but look at from the perspective of like what Bob said, especially if somebody is running for re-election, how they will protect the markets and there's a potential for growth. And historically, you can see year 3 and year 4, markets do well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I think based on that, anybody has doing any strategic, I think I know Bob is already doing, is stashed up a lot of money to invest in the markets when they're dipping. So yes, I think that's a good strategy to look forward to and wait your turn to the day that something happens and many of the items we are looking for become within our buy range or below our buy range to purchase them. Anybody else has any opinion or strategy that you're?
Since I'm a professor in my day job, so I'll be a little professorial. This theory was developed by a guy named Yale Hirsch. And there's, now we're getting to the point where there's almost 100 years that they look at in what happens. And Bob really hit the nail on the head when he said that the idea here is that presidents want to get reelected. So as they near the end of their term, they do things to boost the market. There's also data. One of the things, many of you know of Investopedia, and Investopedia has a very nice website on this particular issue. I guess if you Google the presidential cycle of elections and the stock markets, you would find it. But the evidence is that if you look at the 4 years, in the time that they're doing it, the first year starts out at about 6.7. It goes down to 5.8 in the second year. And it's really the third year, which is a charm. And I guess we really are in the third year. So the average growth in the third year over these periods of time is 16.3%. And then the growth rate does drop. It drops, basically it goes down to what the first year was, 6.7. It's interesting that when you average over all these years, you constantly get growth, which is one of the marvels of the market to me. If you just leave your money in for a while, the market seems to go up. And this is one of the indicators of that. There is some fluctuation. There's, these kinds of estimates are never perfect, but apparently the third year charm is one of the most reliable things. And I guess I should know what the market has done this year. I always think it started out not too well, but I do think it has come up. And I don't know if anybody has on the top of their mind what the growth to date this year has been for the S&P or for the Dow, but it would be interesting to know whether it's in the teens or not, or even higher.
I don't know what the market's doing, but a few days ago, I was looking at my overall portfolio and I've taken money out. Again, old guy, RMD, have to take the money out. And it's up about 16.5% from January 1st. So
that's a good
but I don't know if that
indicator.
reflects the overall market or not.
And that's after taking monthly payments out.
Yeah,
payments.
yeah. And we spend half on travel, and then the other half is well, it's in cash. I'm kind of waiting. Well, I'm looking for good ideas and good opportunities, but I'm also kind of hoping that we have a temporary dip, that something happens. But
Yeah, I mean,
we
as
shall
of
see.
today, apparently 14% up the S&P market.
Excellent.
And they're predicting about 17% by end of the year.
So that would be almost the average of the third year.
Third year. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we like those numbers.
Yes. Yes. Thank you again.
Good luck.
Over to you, Dan.
Okay. So my first question is, and hopefully you can raise your hand if you know how to raise your hand. You go down to the more thing, and I think, oh, maybe it's for reactions here. Yeah, there's a reactions thing at the bottom of your screen, and put your hand up or your thumb up if you are a member of a club. So I'm raising my hand, and I see some checks.
Hand.
Thumbs down if you're Okay. So about half, okay, I see somebody showing us. Brian, thank you. I think your thumb was up. And so I think most of us are. I think we have one person who says no, they're not. And I will talk for a second about being a club member and the benefits really to better investing of people being a club member. For the individual, one of the things they get is they get a little bit of price off of their membership, although it's not really a very big difference. But for better investing, there have been some surveys of what happens to people in better investing. And there are two things that help better investing members to stay involved. One is using the software and the other is being a club member. Both of those things predict longevity as a better investing member. Kevin, I believe you raised your hand that you like doing it yourself. And I certainly can understand that. There are many people who aren't group kinds of people, or who, for whatever reason, doesn't just work. There are barriers or whatever. Do you want to say anything about that? How you came to be a individual member and why that's a good thing for you? You're muted, Kevin, if you. Okay, one person,
Who's got a
Kevin
comment
says,
in the chat?
yeah, Kevin says that there are no clubs close to him. We can talk a little bit about that, Kevin. One of the things that now goes on is that there are model clubs, and model clubs usually function by having a webinar kind of meeting with people who aren't necessarily geographically close. And there are some clubs that just function on an international or distance kind of basis. There's some complications with those clubs in the sense that the tax situation can vary from state to state. And so it can make it a little bit harder for treasurers to handle having out-of-state members. But certainly in my life space, I know of people, and I myself am in a club that functions a couple of thousand miles from where I live, and it works just fine for me. So Serum is raising his hand.
Yeah, if I may add to that, Dan, I belong to two clubs. One club is mainly Louisiana, Mississippi chapter club, model club. And I'm the only member who is not in those two states. And then I also belong to Yankee Model Investment Club. We have 7 members. 3 of them are from the Northeast, 2 from California, and I'm in Texas. So we have a variety of people in different zones and different areas that are part of that club. So depending on your interests and depending on how you can, you should be able to join a club that not necessarily in your area. Having said that, it's always nice to have a club in your local area where you can go meet with them and work some of the wonderful tools we have with individuals who can help you. Thank you, Dan.
Okay. And Chris is saying next time we have Bink, that's a great way to meet people whose clubs you could join. And how do you go about finding a club? anybody have great suggestions for that?
You mean meet at bank? You mean like meeting people there as part who you
Well,
might?
that was a suggestion. And
Oh,
you know, certainly if you go to bank, you could talk to people and get a club that way. If you know of any clubs in your area, you could talk to people who are in a club in your area. So really, this is a very interesting situation where there are people wanting to find a club and clubs wanting to find new members. And it has been a bit of a challenge for people to do that. And there are a couple of ways that people match up. One has been that there has always been, or in the recent past, there has been a find a club meeting, a find a club set of clubs. They're clubs which allow people to come and observe them. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to welcome them as new members, but it gives people an opportunity to see how a club runs, and sometimes it does eventuate in the club finding a new member or a potential member finding a club. More recently, BI has rolled out a program which I'm very excited about called Investment Club Connect. And I believe that it is now operative. It's been announced. Bob is shaking his head yes. Am I right, Bob?
That is correct.
It's operating. So the way this operates is that if you're an individual member, you express an interest in joining a club, and you go onto the Better Investing website, the National Better Investing website, and put in Investment Club Connect, and you will get to the part of the website that handles that. And you say you're interested in joining a club. And what BI will do is they will maintain a list of individuals looking for clubs, along with clubs that are open to adding new members. And they will match you with different factors like gender, distance, and other preferences that you might have to indicate. And then I don't know whether I guess there's confidentiality still, but what BI will do is they'll give your profile to a club that is interested in new members, presumably one that meets, for example, the things that you say are important. So there might be a club in the Virginia area, Kevin, where they would be open to it. And if there was, and you wanted to have a geographically close club, they would present your credentials, I believe, to that club, and that club would then say yes, they'd be interested, and there could be contact. So this is a new thing, and I think that it's something that is very good that BI is doing, and I hope that it works. I should say that there is no obligation to either party. You could put your name in, they could give you the name of a club, and you could say, no, I don't really want to join that club. And also on the club side, they could say, well, no, doesn't seem like this is a good match. I mean, if you have a very different investment philosophy than the club has, or something of that sort, then maybe, it wouldn't work. But at least when you do this, both sides know that they're kind of looking for a match. And so hopefully several of these matches will work. And there's no charge. This is just a service that I think PI does see this in its interest that individuals can join clubs. And if you said that you would be open to joining a distance club, that would open up clubs wherever they are. Most of the clubs are in the United States, so it would open up clubs.
Hey, Dan?
largely, yes, in the United States. Yes.
Hey, Dan, Bob put a link to the
Okay.
Club Connect program in the chat. People can see that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
It's
Kevin said
somewhere
he's enrolled in that and did not get a response yet. And I will check on that. I'm looking, we've got at least 21 clubs in Richmond that so should be a lot of opportunities there. The SEC regulations prevent us from doing direct, giving you the names and locations and all that. But that's why we've got the Club Connect program. Okay, but I'll check on that tomorrow. And Kevin, I'll shoot you an email.
well, we have quite a few interesting questions, and I realize we've been going almost for an hour, so I will ask some questions here. One is, how often does your club meet? A lot of club meet once a month. I guess maybe with this question, does anybody have a club that doesn't meet once a month, or is anybody in a club where they have feelings about meeting too much, too little, any problems with frequency of meeting? Did somebody want to say something? Okay, well, I think clubs typically meet about once a month. Some clubs take off for the Christmas break, or maybe don't have a meeting once or twice in the summer, but once a month is common. Another thing that I think does vary is the way that clubs review the holdings in their club, and what ways do your clubs do this? Do they do it every meeting, every time a quarterly report comes out, some other way? Here.
If I can answer the question, the couple of clubs I'm part of, we do keep a track of what we call the PERT, the portfolio evaluation and review technique. We use that on a monthly basis. We follow and we make discussions and use that information for our decisions. We also have stock watchers that watch and give presentation on the individual stocks they're watching on a monthly basis. And then when we have a quarterly report or a new value line that came for a particular stock, we also try to give a quick report on those. So those are the things that we try to follow as part of our stock review process.
The model club that I'm in has a report on every stock every month. And I think that this keeps us up to date. We do use the PERT, but really more in looking at our overall portfolio and seeing where we should add and where, should we add to certain sectors, or we kind of have guideline that we like every stock to have at least 3% of the portfolio. And so we talk about that when we purchase stocks. The thing that I feel about doing every stock every month is that it's pretty superficial. So basically what people say is buy, hold, or sell. Sometimes we say it's in a buy position, but given its proportion of our portfolio, we're not going to add to it. The monthly report, I sort of feel like I would like at one point to be in a club that does it more on a quarterly or when quarterly reports come out, because I think then you would get a more serious discussion. But those are the two models that I'm most familiar with. I did get a point of a person in the chat who said they were in a club that made decisions when they bought them and never looked at them again. And I guess I grinned a little bit, but I also grimaced a little bit because BI does not really recommend that. And so
and she also mentioned that that was her old club.
yes,
I assume that's not in existence anymore. And Margot, thank you for pointing it out that that's our club meets once a month. Quarterly reports are given based on the value line dates. Other stocks get a 1-minute report. Every stock is discussed at every meeting. I mean, again, that depends on how many members you have and how many stocks you are holding, right? And also, like Dan pointed out, sometimes we may not go too deep if we are talking about a particular stock every month. But it also has the advantage of timing our either adding or reducing our holdings.
and sure, I like the balance here.
Yes.
You get both a quick evaluation every month and you get a more in-depth evaluation periodically, which may be the best of both worlds. So the next question is, how often do you balance your portfolio? And this also comes to the whole issue of this PERT, which most of you may know about, but it's a portfolio review where you can put all your stocks in a portfolio and see what proportion of your portfolio is different stocks. You can have the projected growth rates of each stock and so on. And so the question here is, really, I suppose, how many of you do either keep a PERT or some other way of looking at your portfolio as a whole, and to what extent do you balance it? How often do you balance it? I have sort of said that my club, my model club, as a PERT, we ask people to keep it up to date every month. And we look at that PERT when we make decisions, but we don't do an in-depth analysis of it then. We do an annual in-depth analysis of our holdings. We basically set aside most of a meeting each spring and do an in-depth look at our portfolio. It's the sectors and that sort of thing, the size of the companies. For example, BI has historically recommended that you have a quarter in large cap stocks, 50% in mid cap, and 25% or a quarter in small cap stocks and so on, and that you have a sector balancing and things of that sort. And we do look at those parameters. And in this last one, we were a little bit overloaded in large cap stocks, which I think is easy to get to, and we went to smaller cap stocks, and now we're trying to add to that group. Anybody else with experience they'd like to share about this? Okay, next question.
Hey, Chris, can I share my screen for just 1 second?
You should be able to share. Oh, got
Okay,
it.
you're coming up now.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
This is a PERT. I'm just going to show you how detailed some of this club. This is, you all know Joe Farrell, our PERT expert. This he updates every month for Louisiana, Mississippi Model Club. So it's a very detailed approach on looking at it, and they have been very successful in making some purchases and sells on time to maximize their profits. Again, I don't want to go into details of it, but I just wanted to show you how some people go, how deep they go into managing their portfolio. That's it. Chris, please take the screen back.
Well, you can just stop sharing, Shriram. I think that it's actually already 9:30, so I think we need to just ask if there are any more questions, or if there are any questions, if anybody would like to say anything. Thank you all so much for your participation tonight. I hope you enjoyed this. It's been great for us to hear from you. Next, so we have these meetings on the third Wednesday of every odd month. So our next one will be in November, and we already have a guest speaker. Dan has done us a huge favor as he's going out. He's actually got us the next two speakers for our next two meetings. So Dan, actually, do you want to give us a preview of what to expect in November?
Yes, in November, we are going to have a presentation on options. This is a technique. One of the things that we were interested in the sessions this past year was things that better investing people could use, but are not kind of the core kinds of things that better investing people use. And options is one of the techniques that some people in Better Investing's educational system have talked about. And we are going to have a person whose name is skipping my mind at the second, but who has been a BI speaker, a big speaker, who does do options investing. There are some that are more risky, but there are some, particularly for people who want to augment their annual income. There are covered calls that are a way to do this. And so that is a technique that some people use. Phil, do you remember the name of the speaker? It's not a woman, right? We ended up getting a name.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, okay. So that will be the November presentation. And we were going to have questions about the SSG, and if any of you have questions about the SSG, we would be happy for you to send any one of us an email, and we would try to get somebody to answer you. Chris, back to you.
Super. Thanks everybody so much for joining us. I want to thank the Online Chapter Education Committee for giving us the questions and to you all for participating in the responses that made it a great meeting for us and hopefully for you as well. And I hope you'll join us in November. And that's it for us from here. I'm going to stop the recording and then I would like you all to go on and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Bye-bye.
And
Bye.